Okay. So here's my level 3. I have level 1, which connects to level 3. And right now, if I get to the end of level 3, that's kind of the end of the game. So what I'm going to do is kind of imagine that I want to go from level 3 to level 4. And then kind of rewire everything so I connect level 3 to level 4, and then level 4 is going to end the game. So there's a couple ways to do this. The way that I normally do it is I just duplicate the entire level. But if you wanted to start from scratch, I'll go over that first. So if you wanted to start from scratch, a lot of the things that you have in this level, you're going to want to bring into your next level. Specifically like the player and the tile map. So the way that you do this in Godot 4 is a little bit different from how you used to do it. You used to be able to merge components into different scenes. Now you just copy and paste them. So that's a little more similar to other programs, how other programs typically work. But I kind of preferred the old workflow where you had like one specific way to do it. But anyway, if I was going to completely start my level from scratch, I would just create a new level and create a 2D node. And let's call this level 4A, because I'm going to just demonstrate this real quick, but then I'll do another version of it. So I'll save this in scenes and go to levels, and I'll call this level 4A. Click save. So for some components, like my player, I could just copy and paste them directly into the level. So I could click on the player here, and since I have two different types of levels, I have an RPG style level where the player can walk in all directions versus a platformer style level where the player has gravity and stuff like that. I would want to copy the player from the level that matches the type of level I'm going to create, which is another platformer style. So I just go to this player, and the camera is attached to the player, so we also want the camera. And so I'm just going to go here and copy, go to level 4A, and I'll just paste. So notice that we didn't get the camera. We did get the player. If I hit F, we should see the player. And the player is, I moved the player over for some testing, so I'd probably go over to the transform and reset the player. But we didn't get the camera over here. So that's one of the things that's a little annoying. So let's try that again. Let's delete this node. And let's go back here. And so let's select both of these and copy. And then go over here and paste. Oh, we still didn't get it. Okay, let's try it one more time. Maybe we need to do them separately. So I'm going to delete this again. Okay, so if I select the player, and then I'm going to hold command and select the camera, and then I'm going to right click and hit copy. Now I'm going to go to level 4A and paste. Okay, I still only get the player. So let's reset the player transform, and then let's just copy the camera over. So I'll go back to level 3. I'll choose the camera and copy this, and then click on the player and paste. Okay, there we have the camera. So, you could just recreate the camera, but it already has like the enabled setup. It might have some other smoothing or other properties set. So if you want it to stay the same, you can do it like that. So you can copy and paste all of your elements into the new scene. But another thing you can do, so for example, with my tile map, I want to use the same tile map, so I have the same tiles, but I don't want to have the exact same setup, right? I don't want to have all of the same locations of the tiles and the same basic level. So another way to do this is I can save the resource, but not what I've added into the scene. So if I click on the tile map and you look at the tile set over here, for some reason I can't make this window bigger. Maybe if I click on something else, it'll let me. There we go. Okay. Okay, it won't let me do that. But anyway, where it says tile set here, if I click on this drop down, I can actually save this tile set. And so I can save that into the project. Right now it's just part of this scene, so I can't reference it from other places. But I can save it and then load it into other places. So I'm gonna save this, and I could put this in different places. You could maybe put it in your components, but I'm going to make a new folder called tile sets. And I'm going to save this as tile map. And then you might want to give a description or something like that. Like maybe I'll say platform after that. Or you could say like level 1 or, you know, something to give you a sense of what this is. And so now if I save this, if I go to level 4A, what I can do is add a blank tile map. And I just want to move this up here. And now I can actually load a tile set that I just saved. So I'll go to load and go to tile sets and open this up. And so now I don't have any tiles built, but I can go in and I have my tile map. So I can start designing my tiles and my, you know, my scenery that I've made for the other level. I can go in and start to design this level. So that's probably the best way if you want to reuse a tile map to move our tiles from one level to the next, and then we can continue, you know, drawing out our level. And this should work if I run this. My player should be able to, yeah, so all the collisions are saved, everything else is working the same way. I can still shoot projectiles, and I have a sort of blank slate to start over with my level. I could go to my tile map, and I could, if I want to just quickly make it clear that this is a different level, I could, you know, change the color or something like that. So I can recreate, I can start a whole new level using the same tiles without having to recreate the tile map or delete the old version of the map. Okay, so the way I actually normally do this is I just duplicate the level. So another thing that you can do is I can just right click on level 3 and click duplicate, and I'll call this level 4B. And so when I open up level 4B, it's already got everything in here. So it's got the UI, it's got all of my obstacles, all this other stuff. So now I have to do a little bit of work to get rid of some of this stuff. So like with my tile map, I would basically just open this, but it's pretty easy to delete all this stuff. I'll just hold Command and Shift and right click and just go like that, and it's all gone. And then you delete the obstacles or move them around. So that's actually what I normally do, so that way I don't have to go back and forth and copy paste stuff. But if you're collaborating with other people, or if you just want to have things be better organized instead of just having lots of copies of stuff, you can make those, you can save those assets into their own files and then load them into a new level. So that's a good way to do that as well. But like, you know, with this level, I still have to copy in all of my other elements. So I'd have to go and grab the UI, copy, and paste that in. So it's not, you know, it's not the end of the world, but you have to kind of go through and do a bunch more steps than you would normally have to do. Okay, so that's the first part of the process. We just have to create the scenes, but now we have to connect the scenes together. So last week I went over adding the global scripts where you can track your points or items, you can track the player lives and stuff like that. So if you have multiple levels, you would probably want to have that set up. I'm not going to review that because you can just go, you know, review that video. But now that we have that set up, we can move between levels and we can keep track of our metrics and all of that other stuff. So let's go back to level 3, and what we'll do is we'll remove the end game from the end of the level, and we'll add in a portal, and then we'll set up our level 4 to be the end of the game. Okay, so I'm on level 3 now. Let's make this a little smaller. And at the very end, I have these two these two different types of end level things. So what I'll do is I'll just delete these because I don't need them anymore. Maybe I could, you know, make a copy or whatever, but I don't have a very big level, so I'm not too worried about losing stuff. So I'm just going to delete these end level thingies. And then I don't really need this uWin UI anymore, so I could delete that if I wanted because I can't win the game on this level. So let's just go ahead and delete that as well. Okay, So now we just have our metrics, we have our character, we still have our checkpoints, and we still have the item manager, and so we can still keep track of stuff, which is good. But now we just want to add a portal and go into the next level. So this is kind of a review of what we did last week, but it's a good way to sort of, connect these concepts. So let's add a portal at the end of the level here that we can use to go to the next level. So I'll just click on my main node and instance a new scene. So I'll look for my portal. And that's going to be over here at the origin of the scene. So let's just move this down here to a more appropriate place. And, we could change the color of this if we want it to, look different in some way, whatever. We can match the grass or something like that. But then the main thing that we have to do with the portal is we just have to connect and say where we want it to go. So we need this load level path to be filled in with our new level. So let's go in here. We can go into scenes, go to levels. You could do either A or B. I'll do A since we'll have to review setting some other stuff up. If I did B, I'd already have the end level stuff there, so I just leave it there because B is a copy of what I was editing. But let's go over it again. So I'll use A. And so that should work. I think the signal is connected and everything else is set up. So let's give that a test. So I'll run this scene. Hopefully I can actually get there without dying. Okay, so now when I hit this portal, it takes me to my new level. Obviously, I have a few things that I have to set up in here, but we can do that now. So for our level 4A, this will be the last level, at least for the demo. Of course, you can chain together as many levels as you want. So let's go over to 4A, and I'm going to move this UI up here. But now we need all this other stuff that we had before, like our scene manager. You might not need the item manager. We don't really have any items in here, but you'd probably want it. So all of this stuff that we had before, the checkpoint manager, all of this stuff, if we want those things in the next level, we need to add them. So I'm just going to copy and paste my scene manager, my checkpoint manager, and my item manager. Okay. And so the scene manager is the thing that turns off that you win UI. But since I copied and pasted those things are broken. So let's fix these links. So the scene manager here, it needs a reference to the player. So I just throw that in there. The metrics UI needs a reference to this metrics here. My game over scene is the same, so that's fine. But then the win game UI needs to go right there. And there's a few different options here. The reason there's so many of these things is because you can do either separate scenes or UI, and I kind of demoed both versions, but you only have to use one or the other, obviously. But now let's add in our end game checkpoint. I'm not going to spend a lot of time building out this level, but just a quick note, we kind of talked about this when we talked about level design earlier in the semester, but you should have, your level should be distinct. So your second level shouldn't just be like a completely the same version of your first level. With the same graphics and the same challenges. The levels should have some either visual or gameplay difference to them. So I made a very simple visual difference, but you might want to make some gameplay differences as well. Maybe this level goes up instead of down, or sorry, up instead of to the right, or it goes to the left, or there's different game mechanics, there's new enemies, something like that to make it clear that this is a separate level and it exists for a reason. I'm not going to do that because it's just a demo. So all I'm going to do is add in our endgame UI. So I'll click on my main node and instance a new scene and call this end level UI. And then I'm just going to drag this guy right here. And then we just need to connect the nodes. So when we activate this UI, we need to connect that to the scene manager. So I'm just going to double click here, find the scene manager, and then pick the right method where we have this on win game. So I'll say okay, and then I'll click connect. And that's showing me that it connected right here. And you can see in the code there's a couple options here. If you wanted to change to a different scene, you would just comment this out. I'm just going to leave this as is because that looks good. So now, if I run this scene, I should be able to end the game. Oh, it's telling me that it doesn't see checkpoints global. So I think I had this error last time. I think I'm going to have to restart the engine, but let's just check my auto load. So I do have my checkpoints global script. So I think for some reason Godot is having a hard time making that association. So I'm just going to quit and restart, and hopefully it will work. This is the first thing I always do when I get some random bug like that, because a lot of the time... Okay, it still doesn't like that. So I may have missed something. So let's go back to my end level. Oh, you know what? I think... Oh, no, there's nothing... I think I had the same exact issue last time, and I thought that restarting was all I needed to do. Okay, that all looks fine. Oh, here it is. My checkpoint manager needs a reference to the player. So let's throw the player in there. Oh, and let's actually change the level here for my checkpoint manager. This is level 4. I always forget to do stuff like this. Okay. And I don't really need to track any objects in here because I don't have any objects, but if you wanted to track objects, obviously you'd have to reset this. I'm going to refresh this just so it doesn't do any weird errors. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so now I should win the game. There we go, you win, and I can play again or I can quit. And there we go. So the last thing I'll go over is setting this up so that we have the right scene for the build. I'm getting some errors here, but I'm going to ignore those for now. So you can add as many levels as you want and kind of string them together. But what we want to do is make sure that we have the right level set up when we actually build the scene. So usually I preview the scene using the little clapboard button, but the play button is going to build our game from the beginning. And this is obviously not where we want to start our game. We want to start our game on the start menu. So I'm going to go to project settings and go to general and run. And I'm going to set the first scene to our start menu here. And I'll close that, so I'll save that. So now when I build the game, I'll start at the start menu. And then here's my little first level. Although I don't have my item manager here, so I'm not tracking those items that I'm collecting, but I can talk to my little bird friends. And hopefully I can go to level 1. And level 1, I'm in the middle because I was doing some testing. So just ignore that. I should reset my player. But let's see if I can get to level 4. And there we are. We're on level 4, and now I can win the game. So we want to sequence all our levels together. Although, okay, if I hit play again, I wonder what's going to happen. Let's find out. Okay, that actually is the right thing. Okay, so almost everything is ready. Let's go back to our level 1 and let's add in our metrics and stuff. So I'm just gonna copy the UI and paste it in. And then I think we need a scene manager for that to work. So let's paste that in there. And then we just have to connect. So if we want to be able to collect these items, we need them to be connected to our scene manager. So we just have to go through. I guess I'm not going to do this for all of them because it'll take some time. But I would just connect all of my apples and lives to the scene manager so we can actually keep track of them. And then we also need to connect the player. So we just throw this guy over here. So this is the thing that you may forget to do once you have all this extra stuff set up, is, you know, add into your scene manager all these different elements that you need. So let's see. Now I should be able to collect that apple, but the other apples I didn't connect, so that's why they're not showing up there. And I can get hurt, but I didn't connect that obstacle. So that's another thing I'd have to connect. I'd have to go to this obstacle down here and connect this. Oh no, I think this is actually the player. Yeah, so I'd have to connect the player hit to the scene manager, player hit. But the player can't fall off this level, so I'm not going to bother to connect the player fall. And so now I should be able to get hurt by this little flower guy. Yeah, so I lost a life. So we have to remember just to connect all of that stuff together. All right. I think that's everything. So, you know, once you have all that stuff set up, you can build the game and you should have everything sequenced together. And, you know, just test it. Always remember to test it before you upload it, because you may think that you've set everything up, but there may be some stuff that you forgot about. All right. So I think that's it for this. I'll upload this video.